Camera rolling.
Today I'm going to be talking about how police brutality has had a massive impact on our world today. Last year, but not mostly in our country, in America, over 1,500 people were killed just by the police. Mostly Native Americans and Black Americans. Most of the Black Americans were mostly, say, unarmed when they were being physically arrested. I've had my own experience with seeing police brutality right in front of my eyes when I saw a boy who I've known was arrested by at least 6 grown men and pushed in a corner, tied up, and then taken away in a van. So I was like, how could this happen? Why would I want to see this happen? So now many police brutalities have brought riots. So over the last few years, you have seen riots over the TV, and you see, oh, what's happened? Many people say the cause of this is because of a police saying violently abusing, say a teenager or someone, and this happened. Like, say 2012, we had the London riots. That was caused by a police officer abusing another person. Now, as you can, now the police that usually being convicted of the abuse that's been happening is usually 1 in 8, and you got to wonder, why is not the rest of them being arrested? This can continue, but obviously it has. Most police officers are predominantly white, but so you got to wonder, has any racism been brought into this? So. And also, when it comes to police, they are mostly not really verbally but physical when they come into contact or arresting someone. So they have their guns or their batons or so on, and you got to think that, why are they going to be doing this? Another reason with police brutality is that, say last year a woman died called Sandra Bland, who was a human rights activist. She was arrested for, I think it was a speeding ticket, and she was supposedly hanged, but she wasn't though, because in her mugshot you can obviously tell that she was lying down on the floor. She was already dead, and in other pictures you don't see up her nose, but in her mugshot you can see up her nose, which in other pictures you can't. So you got to wonder, this was happening in the South of America, which mostly where police brutality is. Say if Donald Trump comes into power, I think police brutality will raise even more, because due to the fact that he's kind of a racist, which he may seem that he's not racist, like he's saying that he's not, but he is. In the world of the eyes, he is. So if there are people many people would think, oh no, he doesn't have any followers, but yes, he does. Most are in South America, like in Alabama, Tennessee, and so on. So if he becomes in power, this will just kind of escalate even more. Maybe even bring back, slavery or something, knowing him, because of how he's continuing with this. I'm done.
Questions?
What made you choose the topic?
I chose this topic because I watch news, so I chose this topic because I've seen too many of police brutality happening, including of what I've witnessed, and how why we're not doing anything about it. We see a lot of this, say, all over the world. We don't do anything about it. The government doesn't do anything about it. So I wanted to choose this topic because I think, of my personal view, that I want to speak my mind about it.
If this police brutality is mainly happening in America, why do you think you need to talk about it since you're a British citizen?
I feel we need to talk about it because even though we may not be American, it is still a problem. It still happens here as well. I mean, it doesn't happen as often as here, but it is still a problem. So even though that it's not here, we see, because of the media and everything, we see it on TV, and we want to wondering what's happening. So that's why I'm talking about it.
Keris, you mentioned an event that a personal kind of story of yours where you'd seen this happen. Can you go into a bit more detail about that? Why did this happen to begin with? Why did the police?
He was accused of carrying a weapon, which he was not, because I know the boy personally, and so they out of the blue they grabbed him and they shoved him up in the corner. About 4 grown policemen shoved him in the corner, and the boy was like, obviously, if like 4 massive grown men have you, you're obviously gonna resist arrest. So 4 of them came and they were saying, since he was resisting arrest, that he was arrested and so on, saying the Miranda.
Was he resisting?
He was. Why was he resisting?
Was he resisting arrest?
Yeah, he was resisting arrest because it was still. He was trying to come out of them, because he's about half the size of me, and he was trying to come out of that situation, but they wouldn't let him. About 10 more police came. About 10 more police officers came to try and ensure the situation, because many of his friends were also arguing to the police, why do you have him like that? And so since he was still resisting arrest, they decided to tie up his ankles and tie up his wrists and lifted him up and carried him into a police van. But luckily he got released the next day.
Was it completely unprovoked? There was no. I don't understand why some policemen would approach a young man if there was no reason not to.
It was unprovoked, because he was just like messing around doing his usual. He was like messing around, being obviously a teenager, and then since the police were already there, he was there. He knew that the police were there, so since he was already messing around, the police thought they had a weapon on him, and they decided to grab him.
Can you explain what you mean by messing around?
Like he was messing around with his friends, because he was saying how he was giving around free hugs to people, because which he did, and then the police just grabbed him.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think his race comes into why he's?
I think it does actually, because he is black and he's got like dreadlocks, which are quite long. So I think it kind of brings into that, since the police officers, all of them were white, and they had that one little black boy in the corner.
Do you think it's coincidental in any how the same person that arrested the boy you're talking about arrested his brother like 3 weeks before?
Let me see if I can elaborate on that. I think it is a bit kind of weird. They probably did know, because he probably have been arrested before at least or something. So I think since they already had his brother arrested, they would think that his little brother would be following in his footsteps at least, so they would kind of have him like that. So I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's kind of on purpose.